Hello and welcome to Forza 4, a guide to drifting techniques with me, Edmard. In this series, we're going to be covering basic drifting techniques to help the beginner drifter learn to drift. However, there should be techniques in here that should be helpful and informative to even the most advanced drifters. In this first part, we're going to be covering initiation and short corners, the very basics to starting to learn to drift. For the purpose of this guide, we're going to be using a Nissan S13 with 291 horsepower and 236 torques. It has very few modifications, and this is because I wanted to illustrate that you don't need a lot of horsepower to drift. It is also making it easier for you to drift around a short corner because of the lack of horsepower. This means that you don't have to worry too much about throttle control and how much power you're using with your throttle. Hopefully, this car should be easier to learn in, but don't feel that you have to use a car with low horsepower and low torque to be able to do this guide and use these techniques. You can use whatever you feel comfortable in. For this first part of the guide, I'm going to be teaching you how to use the e-brake to initiate your drift. This is the first thing you should learn, and it doesn't require any difficult weight transfer or other difficult techniques. I'm going to be using the telemetry as well to help you see what I'm doing, and hopefully that should help you learn as well. Firstly, as you come up to the corner, make sure you're at a steady speed, don't go too fast. Touch the brakes and use your handbrake. I don't use too much brakes at all, don't slow yourself down with the brakes. After you've handbraked, you need to start counter steering. I've slowed it down so you can see what I'm doing. I suggest you watch over this several times. After you've counter steered, you can then use soft throttle to pull yourself through the corner. Don't worry about exiting the corner. We're going to work on that later on. Just remember to get into the corner and then catch your slide with counter steer. If you can do that, then you're doing good. Okay, let's have a look at that again. As I'm coming up to the corner at a steady pace, I slow myself down a slight amount with the brakes, not too much, and then I handbrake as I steer into the corner. I then catch the slide with counter steer, and then after I've caught it, I then use the throttle to keep it steady. Make sure you don't use too much throttle, although if you're using a low horsepower car like me, you can just go full throttle like I did. Remember, practice is key, and you need to keep practicing in order to get better. Keep watching over these two clips over and over again, so you can really see what everything I'm doing. Keep your eye on that telemetry. Okay. Now we're going to cover the feint drift, which is the next technique that you should learn. This technique does not require any handbrake to initiate the drift, and it really helps you to learn how to use the weight of the car to initiate a drift. Okay, so as I turn around here, I'd just like to mention that you really should have the handbrake sorted, and you should be used to drifting the car by now. Okay, so as you can see, I'm leaning out to the right hand side and turning almost off the track. I'm using the brakes slightly to help me control my drift. I only slight bit of brakes, remember. Don't need to use your brakes a lot. This initiates the drift, and then you can carry on like you did after you initiated it with the handbrake. I'm going to let it roll on, and you'll be able to see a few more goes round with this feint drift. You really need to concentrate on how I use my throttle as I feint drift. Notice how I lift off. This helps me to initiate the drift and also helps the weight to transfer across the car. You need the car to become light on its wheels, which is why you need to lift off the accelerator slightly as you initiate the drift. The initiation should happen as you just about turn into the corner, just as you're turning into the corner, because the change of direction of the car is making your car unstable, and the throttle, lifting off the throttle and coming back on the throttle should make it drift. Make sure you look at the telemetry and keep watching those clips over and over again, so you can really tell what's going on, and you can really understand what I'm saying and everything that's going on as I feint drift. The lifting off the throttle is again something that I want to emphasise. It's really important. The final part to this episode is the power over drift. All the time I've been teaching you initiation, and I've told you in the first part not to worry about the exit of the corner. In this, we'll be teaching you how to exit the corner perfectly, hopefully. Okay, so as I turn my car around here, we're going to be approaching the corner and then going round the corner, driving round the corner at around 40 miles an hour. This is a good steady speed for this corner. Then, as you reach the apex of the corner, you want to full throttle and then lift off slightly to allow yourself to catch the drift. Then it's all about throttle control and steering control. You need to control the drift with your steering angle and throttle control. With my low horsepower, I can use more throttle because there's less horsepower to muck up my drift, and it also allows me to be more smooth as I counter steer out of the corner. Notice here what I'm doing. Sometimes when I do this, I like to steer slightly more into the corner as I try to initiate the slide. This is just to help the car around the corner. Also, as I want to finish the drift, I just lift off the gas and it lets me finish my drift. Well, that's all we have time for this episode. Stay tuned because episode 2 is coming out soon, very soon. I'll be doing that right now. And I hope you really enjoyed this. I'm really looking forward to bringing you more. And then once we've done all the basic techniques, we're going to just go into more advanced techniques and tips and tricks just every now and then. I hope you enjoy this series, and I hope the next episode is just as good as this one.